A dead child. A cardboard box. No name. No fingerprints on record. No one ever came looking. In February 1957, a deliverman drove past a stretch of road in northeast Philadelphia and noticed something disturbing sitting in a ditch. It was a cardboard box, the kind used to ship bassinet parts. Inside it was the body of a small boy, approximately 4 years old, wrapped in a plaid blanket. His hair had been recently cut. His fingernails were clean. Someone had taken the time to care for this child before they discarded him like trash. Investigators flooded the scene. The case made national headlines. Over 400 detectives were eventually assigned to it. They canvassed thousands of homes. They printed and distributed hundreds of thousands of flyers with the boy's reconstructed face. Not a single person ever claimed him. No mother reported a missing child matching his description. No school, no neighbor, no hospital, no church. It was as if this little boy had materialized out of nowhere, and then died. He was buried in a pauper's grave marked only as * America's unknown child. And here's the part that still keeps investigators awake at night. 67 years later, despite DNA testing, despite forensic genealogy, despite the full force of modern science being thrown at this case, we still do not officially know who this child was. Or who killed him. What you just heard is only the beginning. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 of the most baffling, most disturbing, and most deeply unsolved child death mysteries ever recorded. Cases that span nearly 800 years of human history. Each one was investigated extensively. Each one broke the people who tried to solve it. And every single one of them remains, in some critical way, unanswered. We'll go case by case. And I promise you, the last one on this list is the one that genuinely shocked me the most during research. Let's get into it. Case 1. The Boy in the Box. We started here for a reason. This isn't just an unsolved murder. It's a complete erasure of a human being's identity. The boy was between 3 and 5 years old. The medical examiner confirmed he had been severely malnourished and showed signs of repeated physical abuse over a long period of time. His cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Whoever killed him had been hurting him for a long time before they finally did it. Investigators found a chemical in his stomach consistent with a specific brand of baby food, a brand primarily sold in the Philadelphia and New Jersey area. His unusual haircut suggested someone had just trimmed it before death, possibly to make him look more presentable. More groomed. As if whoever left him cared, deeply, about how he appeared, but not enough to keep him alive. In 2019, forensic genealogy technology finally gave investigators a breakthrough. They identified a woman, now deceased, as a possible relative. But the full identity of the child has still not been officially confirmed to the public. Someone out there knows who this boy was. They chose to stay silent, and they may have taken that secret to their own grave. The next case involves a child who didn't just die mysteriously, he appeared mysteriously first. And what he claimed about his life will make you question everything. Case 2. Kaspar Hauser. On May 26, 1828, a teenage boy stumbled into the town square of Nuremberg, Germany, barely able to walk. He could speak only a handful of words. He couldn't digest regular food. Sunlight caused him physical pain. He had the muscle development of an infant despite being approximately 16 years old. He carried a letter claiming he had been raised entirely in a small dark room since birth, with no human contact, no sunlight, and no social interaction. His name, he eventually learned to say, was Kaspar Hauser. He became a sensation across Europe. Philosophers and nobles took him in, taught him language, watched him develop at a remarkable pace. He claimed, in growing detail, to have been a prisoner his whole life. Some believed he was royalty, a prince deliberately hidden from the world to prevent him from inheriting a throne. Then in December 1833, Kaspar Hauser was found in a park with a deep stab wound in his chest. He died 3 days later. He claimed a stranger had lured him to the park with the promise of information about his origins, and then stabbed him. The wound's angle made it physically impossible to be self-inflicted. Yet authorities at the time suggested it was a hoax, that Hauser had stabbed himself for attention. Modern DNA analysis has produced conflicting results. Some samples matched the ruling house of Baden. Others didn't. We still don't know who Kaspar Hauser really was, who imprisoned him, or who silenced him permanently before he could find out. What happened to Kaspar Hauser is terrifying. But the next case involves not one child dying mysteriously, but 2. And they were the most powerful children in England. Case 3. The Princes in the Tower. In the summer of 1483, 2 royal boys were placed inside the Tower of London for their own protection. 12-year-old Edward V, the newly crowned King of England, and his 9-year-old brother Richard, Duke of York. They were seen playing in the Tower grounds occasionally through early summer. Then, gradually, the sightings stopped entirely. By autumn, they had simply vanished. Their uncle, Richard III, had declared both boys illegitimate and seized the throne for himself. He had both the motive and the access. Yet no body was ever found, no official execution was ever recorded, and no confession was ever made. In 1674, nearly 2 centuries later, 2 small skeletons were found buried beneath a staircase in the Tower. They were assumed to be the princes and were reinterred in Westminster Abbey by King Charles II. But the bones have never been DNA tested. The British royal family has repeatedly denied requests to exhume and analyze them. We are one DNA test away from solving a 540-year-old double murder of 2 royal children. That test has been blocked every single time it's been requested. The next case jumps forward to 1945, Christmas Eve, and involves 5 children who were there one moment and simply were not there the next. Case 4. The Sodder Children. On the night of December 24, 1945, a fire broke out in the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder escaped with 4 of their children. But 5 of their kids, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Jr., and Betty, were trapped inside. The house burned to the ground. But no human remains were ever found in the ashes. Not a single bone. Not a single tooth. The family's phone line had been cut before the fire started. The ladder George kept on the side of the house to access upper floors had been moved. The fuse box that should have tripped during an electrical fire didn't. And multiple witnesses reported seeing a car parked on the road near the house during the fire, with people inside watching. 4 years, the Sodder parents refused to believe their children had died. They erected a billboard on a major highway with photographs of the 5 children and a $5,000 reward. They hired private investigators. They received anonymous tips from across the country. Then, in 1967, Jenny Sodder received a photograph in the mail. It showed a young man who bore a striking resemblance to Louis Sodder, the age he would have been in 1967. On the back it read, Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie. Ill boys. A 90132. No one has ever been charged. No explanation for the missing remains has ever been officially confirmed. And the photograph sender was never identified. And look, I haven't even gotten to the case that broke me during research. That one is coming up. It's the one that made me genuinely uncomfortable to keep reading. Stay with me. Case 5, Adam of the Thames. On September 21, 2001, just 10 days after the World Trade Center attacks, a torso was pulled from the River Thames in London. It belonged to a black African boy, estimated to be between 4 and 7 years old. His head, arms, and legs had been surgically removed with extreme precision. His internal organs had been removed and replaced with clay pellets. He wore only an orange pair of shorts. Scotland Yard named him Adam and launched one of the most extensive forensic investigations in British history. Analysis of Adam's bone chemistry revealed he had come from a region of Nigeria near Benin City. His stomach contents contained traces of plants and substances consistent with a specific ritualistic preparation used in Muti, traditional African ritual medicine in which human body parts are believed to confer power. Investigators believed Adam had been trafficked to London specifically to be killed. They identified a suspect, a Nigerian woman, but she was never successfully prosecuted. To this day, Adam's real name is unknown. His family has never been found. No one has ever been convicted of his murder. A child was trafficked across a continent, killed in a ritual, and discarded in a river, and the full truth of what happened to him remains buried. The next case goes back even further, to 1912, and involves the single bloodiest unsolved child murder in American history. Case 6. The Villisca Axe Murders. On the morning of June 10, 1912, the bodies of Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, Herman, Mary Catherine, Arthur, and Paul, and 2 young houseguests were found in their home in Villisca, Iowa. All 8 of them had been bludgeoned to death with an axe while they slept. The oldest victim was an adult. The youngest child was just 5 years old. Every mirror in the house had been covered with clothing. The killer had washed the axe in a basin, left it carefully at the foot of a bed, and then left, apparently through the back door, without a single witness seeing them come or go. Investigators arrested multiple suspects over the following years, including a traveling minister with a history of violence, a local politician, and a detective hired to investigate the case itself. Every single prosecution failed. Every single suspect was ultimately released. The house still stands today. It's a museum. And the case remains, over a century later, officially unsolved. 6 children were killed in their sleep, and whoever did it walked free, possibly for the rest of their natural life. Heaven, the boy in the box, final revelation. We end where we started. Because the boy in the box isn't just the most haunting case on this list, it may be the most disturbing commentary on how completely a human life can be erased. In 2019, investigators made a major announcement. Using advanced forensic genealogy, the same technique used to catch the Golden State Killer, they had identified a woman named Martha Jury as a potential family match. She was deceased, but her family was traced, investigated, and then silence. No arrest. No confirmed name. No closure. The best current theory, based on circumstantial evidence, is that the boy may have been the biological child of a woman in the area who had a history of abuse. But the evidence has never reached the threshold for an official identification. That little boy was roughly 4 years old when he died. He had been beaten repeatedly. He was malnourished. He was wrapped in a plaid blanket by someone who knew him, placed in a cardboard box, and left on the side of a road. And in 67 years of trying, with all the technology and forensic power of the most advanced investigative agencies in the world, we have never been able to tell him who he was. Every one of these cases, from the princes in a medieval tower, to an African boy floating in the Thames, to 5 children who vanished from a Christmas Eve fire, represents a human being whose story was deliberately buried. Someone, somewhere, knew the truth. And they chose silence. The most disturbing thing about all 7 of these cases isn't the violence. It's the fact that justice, for these children, simply never came. There are still more cases I haven't covered. Cases from Japan, from South America, from medieval Europe that are even stranger than what I've shown you here. If you want part 2, let me know in the comments, and let me know which case from this list hit you the hardest. Like, share, and subscribe, because these stories deserve to be heard.